Not everyone wants a huge, complicated, expensive tool to do their globe information returns and their country by country reporting. If you are one of those, then this tool may be for you. It is Excel based. You fill in the template, you send the template to me, I take care of all the conversions for you, and I join you online and we upload your CBCR or your globe information returns to the tax authorities, and we are done. The rest of this video describes in high level how this tool works. If you want to see the full offer, go to the very end and you will see everything in text in one go. Let's get started. On this slide, you see our introductory page to the tool, so it has a clear list of instructions on what to do. It is the top block marked the how-to guide on the yellow tab, and below you see every sheet has a number of instructions of what to do. So when you do the IIR calculations, the top dark block will tell you how it works. The light blue block tells you where the texts are found in the globe information return, so you can look at the instructions in the globe information return. And then the dark blue bar at the very bottom of the slide is the names of the different elements that will get into the XML file. When you do your globe return, you want to keep things simple. So you start with the CBCR, so you get all the countries which are under the transitional safe harbor out of the picture. And what you see on this slide on the top block is all the data that you normally would fill in for your CBCR, the company names, the addresses, the TIN numbers and everything. The bar at the very top, dark blue, explains to you what to do, and you see the references to the different returns in the bars above World Teas, which is our mock company that we are using here. The block at the bottom is your classical CBCR table 1 that you've seen and done many times before when you have completed your CBCR in the past. The benefits of doing the CBCR, the GIR in one file, is that you have one source of truth, you cannot contradict yourself, the numbers are the same, and you save by not having to do things twice, like company names and TIN numbers and everything else. You can also see that the bottom bar on the far right identifies which of the transitional CBCR safe harbors you will qualify for in the last 4 columns, and those will be taken into the rest of the Pillar 2 return in this template as appropriate. Some groups may prefer to import their numbers on an entity basis into the tool, either because that's a quicker way of getting the country numbers into the country sheets, or because you are required to report the entity numbers in spite of us having the per country exemption for the first year or 2 to file the globe return. You can also see that there are some safeguards built into the workbook, such as the pink block on the left, which warns you that you've got more entities in your safe harbor sheet, which is all the entities in the group, than what you have in your CE numbers in this particular sheet. In our next sheet, we are doing our whole globe return from starting with the file to ending up with the top-up tax due for that jurisdiction. So if we look at the top block, that is the first part of the sheet, where you fill in the entity and you fill in the subgroups and the jurisdictions and the receiving countries and the countries with taxing rights, etc., etc. You put in the final, the adjusted final. You do all the add back of the taxes and taking out the dividends. And then in the bottom block, you've by now done your current taxes, you are calculating your deferred taxes, you do your recasting in the green block in the bottom, you calculate your ETR and your top-up tax percentages, you add your payroll, you do your total substance-based income exclusion to determine your excess profits in the blue right block, and then in the final instance you calculate what your top-up tax will be for that jurisdiction. The workbook as a whole follows a reductionist approach. Obviously, you need to start with all the entities in the group. You need to put all of the countries into the CBCR numbers, which also is used for calculating the transitional CBCR safe harbors. Whatever falls out, which you've seen highlighted in dark red in previous slides, are the countries for which you are going to have to do the full Section 3 globe calculation. But you start maybe with 50 countries, you end up with 3. And for these you'll need to do your full calculation, and you can see in the top left blue block you have your total calculation, which goes into your globe return like that as well, which you must have to have an idea of what the top-up taxes will be and what the excess negative tax expense will be if you ever run into that. The block below it is your summary section, which is also a fixed section of the XML return, where you say who gets what the taxpayer numbers are, whether they are in a safe harbor or not, what the effective tax rate are if they're not in a safe harbor. Then you come to the calculations of your IIR, which you see in the second block from the bottom on the left, and finally the UTPR in the very bottom block. Now the IIR you might do on an entity basis or on a country basis, but then when it comes to UTPR, you need to do that on a country basis based on the head count and the tangible assets. And it's always a good idea once you've done all of this to cross-check the numbers coming from the tool, because you can change many of the formulas to suit your style on the way. And then it makes sense to make a calculation like you see in the far right, which is at the back end of the workbook, where you simply check line by line whether you qualify for the safe harbor for that jurisdiction. I've got company 1, company 3 in the far left. You can have as many as you want even in the jurisdiction. You can also divide them by subgroups if you want. And you simply go through this 6 or 7 step process where you calculate the globe income, you calculate the adjusted covered taxes and the deferred taxes, you calculate the ETR in step 3 there, and at step 4 you determine the substance-based income exclusion and the excess profits in 5 and 6, and you finally determine the top-up tax at the very bottom. And if need be, very few groups are going to run into a UTPR. In fact, you can calculate that and then see whether the tool produces the same number, and if they don't, which of the two is correct. There are simply so many movable pieces in the globe return that when you come to complicated countries, you're going to have to do some form of cross-check, and this would be a very useful one, which would also immediately serve as your basis for your local QDMTT return, making sure that that aligns with your globe information return to the extent possible. When you are done completing the template, you send that to me and I will convert the template for you into a XML file for CBCR or for globe, whatever is appropriate at that time. I will prove to you that the file validates under the OECD XML schema, and I will send you a human readable version of the XML file. So you can see we've got the XML file here in the left block. It is 1,600 lines long. This is not a very big file. It can be 5, 6, 7,000 lines very quickly. You cannot read that and verify the data. So we export the XML file back into Excel. We show you the message spec, we show you the filing info, we show you the corporate structure and the summary and the overall computation and the low tax jurisdiction calculations. So you can be sure that what you've put into your original Excel file and what comes out in the XML file are actually the same things and are correct. And you can give this to your advisors to review if you need, and then we can do the upload after all of that is done, so that you are sure that you've filed as accurate a CBCR or a globe information return as possible. And when you are satisfied, I join you on a Teams call and we go and we upload the file, and we simply make whatever adjustments are needed while we are on the Teams call until the file is accepted by the governments. They don't always publish all the conditions that they have for accepting the file, and it is much quicker to simply sit on a Teams call and do it as is required rather than start sending emails back and forth, because that can very easily take weeks again. This last file shows you our package offer. I will give you time to read through it. If you have questions, you see my email address at the top right hand corner. Bye for now.